Hi, welcome to Rein It In. I'm Rachel.
I'm Matt, and we are doing our 12th episode of 2020.
Yeah, we are. We are a travel podcast where we talk about travel and food and being fun together.
Right. Which is difficult to do when you're in a global pandemic and can't really travel. So I'm pretty proud that we got 12 episodes out this year.
Yep.
And this is also New Year's Eve, hours from the East Coast ball drop.
Yep. And in fact, mere minutes, ultimately, from when we are having a online party for friends.
Yeah,
So
we're going to have a virtual New Year's party.
we will attempt to be concise.
Yeah, we'll see how well that goes.
Yeah.
So, Rachel, we know that when we were in Japan last year, year and a half ago, it seems like forever ago,
It does.
you ate mayonnaise, your arch nemesis, and you ate it to be polite to the chef,
I did.
and you hate mayonnaise.
I do.
However, what's the one other thing that you're least likely to do if we travel domestically or abroad?
I mean, it's the thing that I'm least likely to do just in general, which is drive a car.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Like things that I hate. Actually, I have a whole coloring book of these things, but two of the things in the coloring book,
thank you, Christine.
one of them is mayonnaise and one of them is driving.
Yeah. So whenever we travel, we do our best not to drive once we get to where we're going. And I know that's a little bit different than probably a lot of people do. We have a lot of friends and family who do a lot of travel internationally or around the United States. And I think a car is pretty common.
Yeah, I think my parents almost always rent a car.
Yeah.
Even when they travel internationally. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It was a little wonky voice. So we wanted to talk today a little bit about what it's like to travel without a car and how it's kind of modifies the choices and rhythms of travel for us.
And how it really works to our way of traveling.
Yeah.
And if you're worried about driving in another country or just don't like to drive, maybe some ideas.
Yeah.
However, I do need to say, right, we are still able to walk quite a bit, which we do.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, there is like big time ability and mobility issues that allow us to be able to travel this way.
Right. Although fully, but I've got some problem with my feet and knees, so we can't walk a ton.
Right.
But we can still walk more than
We're not
many
walking
people.
the Appalachian Trail
Right.
anytime soon.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to give you some of our stories about places we've traveled in the past.
Yep. I learned how to drive and got my driver's license officially in, 6 years ago when I was 36. So now you all know how old I am. Anyway, I got it very, very late, 20 years later than most people do. And I still don't like being in a car. I've driven once since I got my license. I'm certainly happy that I did. I feel as though I could drive in a variety of circumstances if I had to now. But it's not my favorite thing. I don't like driving. I don't like being in a car. I do, oddly though, love being in a train.
Yeah. I'm similar, but entirely different. I don't mind driving, but I don't love driving. And maybe a little bit because I'm the primary driver in the house. I don't love driving long distances and then having to be a functioning human being.
Right.
So we've kind of even when we've been in the States, we've found ways to travel sometimes that don't involve a train. So we should also say we've mentioned this before. We live in Atlanta currently. We've only lived here for 9 years.
9 years.
And we can take public transit. The other thing we should comment on, mentioned global pandemic earlier. Obviously, most of us aren't getting on public transit currently if we can help it. So
I haven't actually ridden public transit, also since March, right, when everything kind of stopped. So, nor have I, taken an Uber or been in a vehicle that wasn't with Matt, basically.
Right. So, I don't think I'm necessarily planning on really getting back to any semblance of normal until probably 2022 at this point. So we're about to hit the new year in a couple hours here. You're most definitely listening to this in the new year, I would expect. And so we're assuming we're going to at some point get back to some semblance of normality.
Right.
And so when we're in a little bit more of a normal world, we can take the train from our house. It's about a 5-block walk, and then we can get to the airport. In Atlanta, MARTA drops you off in the airport.
Yep.
So you walk to your gate, easy as pie.
And this has long since been one of my favorite things about living in Atlanta.
And where we do in Atlanta.
Right. Because it's so easy for me to get to the airport. The previous places we lived, Colorado and Ohio, I had to get someone to drive me to the airport, which is fine, but it really limits my ability to travel solo without relying on other people. And I do love traveling solo. As a person who's been in a relationship for a very long time, which I like a lot, traveling solo reminds me that I'm capable of doing things on my own. And so just being able to hop on a train, hop on a plane, and then at the other end, very often hop on another train or bus.
Right.
Or whatever.
Lyft or Uber.
Or
right?
Lyft or Uber.
So because when we were living in Ohio and Colorado, this is really before the time of the rideshare.
Yeah.
Which I even have to say I love because, like I mentioned, I'm okay driving. I don't want to drive for a whole day. But I also don't want to drive if I don't have to. I do like the freedom of being able to drive. I do sometimes feel like I'm Luke Skywalker in Beggar's Canyon when I drive on the highway, which isn't the best idea, but you got loud music, you're being reasonably safe. But if we go out to a restaurant, I would much rather take a Lyft or an Uber or walk if we can. If I want to have a glass of wine or two, not worried about it. And it helps, right? So I think since those types of things, or even cabs in certain cities, right? In certain countries, cabs are an entirely different thing than in the States. In the States, cabs are just...
Depends on what city you're in. In Atlanta, cabs are terrible. They're just few and far between and really expensive. Always have been, and that's why rideshare has been a really great addition to my life in Atlanta. It's not that way everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much $20 to get in a cab in Atlanta.
Yeah, it is. And you can get a lot of places in a Uber or Lyft for way cheaper than that.
Yeah. I'd rather round up my tip.
Yeah. Okay.
And make it $20. But we're getting off track.
We are way off track.
But we're setting the context, right?
Yeah.
In Atlanta, we can walk out our front door, we can get to the gate of a plane
usually in an hour.
About an hour. And then when we do travel, we do structure our plans around how we're going to get to the place we're staying and how we're going to get around and what we're going to do.
Right. And we will try to choose places that are easily accessible by public transit. Google Maps makes this helpful now because you can map public transit lines on Google Maps, so you can look at what's near you potentially. And I think it also, you factor different sort of timing into your day. You factor different costs in. And I think just in general, public transit saves us a lot of money, more than over renting a car and parking a car.
Yeah. Well, so that's a good story, right? We, a bunch of years ago while we were living in Atlanta, we took Amtrak. If you don't live in the States and you're listening to us, you've probably seen United States, pretty abysmal on our rail
network. Yeah.
If you happen to be going to some place that's on an Amtrak line, that's our sort of semi-publicly funded, semi-private, I don't quite know how that fits,
right,
thing. And so from Atlanta, you can take a direct shot to New Orleans,
which is great.
Right, and it does take about 12 hours, so it's time. You could drive that in...
I think it's 10.
I think it's 7.
Really?
Either way,
nope.
You could do it. You could do it in less time.
I'm looking it up right now.
But the bonus to this is when we went to New Orleans a couple years ago, 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
we packed some snacks. We packed some books. We packed some games.
We packed some wine.
Got there. We packed some wine. not technically supposed to have wine. We put it in a plastic container so that we weren't carrying glass. And we just made it part of the day.
It is 7 hours.
I know, it's pretty quick.
Okay,
And it took us 12. It might have been 13.
I think it's
honestly.
12.
But it was half a day. But we made it part of the trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was our decompression time when we were starting to begin our vacation. We were relaxing. We enjoy each other's company, fortunately, thankfully, during this pandemic time.
God.
And
no kidding.
And by the time we got there, we were relaxed. We were ready to start doing stuff. We were excited to do stuff. If I had driven for 7 hours, I would have been like, screw it, I need to sit down, I need to take a nap.
And there's no way it would have just taken 7 hours. I mean, I looked at that at like 9:30 at night on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it would take us at least 2 hours to get out of Atlanta.
I think any other time other than this, traffic would be a big old factor.
Yeah, right. So still, you shave noticeable time, right? However, while we were in New Orleans, what did we run into when we were at the whatever restaurant that was?
What did we run into while we were at?
There was another couple that we heard talking that they were from Atlanta.
Yeah,
and so we chatted them up.
French Laundry. That's a great restaurant. If it's still there, I mean, admittedly, it was 8 years ago, but the risotto with a poached egg on it. Oh my God, so good.
Why do we not put poached egg on our risotto more?
I don't know.
Because you don't like to poach eggs. I'll poach that egg.
Okay.
I'll poach that egg. Just one for me.
Next week.
Okay. So, but we were chatting up this couple, which we don't often do. But
we were waiting for a
They
table.
were at the bar, and yes, we just started chatting them, and they were like, oh yeah, we're from Atlanta too. And we mentioned we took the train, and they were like, oh, well,
They flew.
They flew from Atlanta, which is cost. Probably similar cost, honestly.
Actually, no, the train was super cheap. I don't know how much it is now, but it was super cheap then.
Yeah. If you're in the States and you can take Amtrak and you're interested in it, book early.
Yeah, because it's not like planes, it doesn't fluctuate, right? So it really is like, by X date, it will be this cost. By Y date, it will be this cost. By Z date, it will be this cost. Like, it just goes up the closer you get to your trip.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to watch the fares. Like, once you decide you're going on the trip, just book it. I mean, there's not times that you can choose or anything, right? It's just unfortunately, the Atlanta to New Orleans train, it leaves here at 7 a.m., gets there around 7 p.m. if things are on time, which Amtrak, that is always a question mark. But it's not, you don't have to be at the train station at 4:30, which certain trains that I've taken do.
But we left Toledo, Ohio, we had to be there at 2 in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, and when I came
sketchy.
back from Spartanburg, Spartanburg was a 3 a.m. pickup in the middle of nowhere.
Train stations aren't often in the best neighborhoods.
Right.
So, be safe. But we were checking these people, so they flew, maybe more expensive, maybe about the same price if they got a killer deal or used miles or something. But then they rented a car, and they were talking about how expensive it was to park that car.
Yep.
So,
so it's triple layers of expensive. I mean, I will say,
cabs in New Orleans were cheap too. Anyway,
they were sometimes kind of hard to get, and again, we were there before rideshare, so I think things would be really different now. I mean, now imagine you're traveling like normal now. So one of the other things that I think it's useful to think about when you're thinking about traveling with public transit is so the most intimidating thing is always figuring out how to buy tickets and use those tickets, right?
I think one of the other things you do need to keep in mind, right? My folks, they'll take the train to our house if they need to, if something's going on, if we're working or can't make it, but they do not like it. A lot of people are not comfortable. Notoriously, people in Atlanta are afraid of the train, which is ridiculous because it's super safe.
It's so safe.
I think one of the things we do is because we've done it, it's easy. So even when we run into something that's complicated someplace, like we talked about this in the past in the travel fails, just last episode, if you want to listen to that. In Rome, 2 episodes ago, in Rome, it was difficult because of just working, and that was technology. It was a long time ago.
It was.
But sometimes figuring out their ticketing system is confusing. Yep. Or say you're in Tokyo and things are in a different language, right? Although I'd say, again, these days in Tokyo,
very easy.
Super easy. You can use Google. It'll tell you exactly what train, what track to get on, what direction to walk. But it does take a little bit of training to get used to it, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that is super helpful, if you can find them, is weekend passes, week-long passes, day passes,
or maybe city passes,
or city passes. Yeah. And I think like City Pass is a company that exists.
Do they still exist? Probably. Something like it does.
As of City Pass hopefully still exists. We should have checked before we started this episode, but this is how this podcast rolls. Don't check things unless we look at our phones halfway through to find out how long of a drive it is to New Orleans.
Yeah.
So we've used City Pass successfully a couple of times, and I really think that it's only worth it when it does include the public transit, because there's some cities where it won't give you public transit access, including Atlanta. But the 2 times that we've used it really successfully, once was in San Francisco and once was in Barcelona. And what it made possible was finding places that I never would have gone to.
Yeah.
And giving me public transit access to get there. So it was like, oh, this museum is on here. Oh, I can take this train. Oh, I've already paid for both of these things. I just need to flash my pass or scan it or whatever. And I just need to, like walk the couple blocks once I get off the train to this museum.
San Francisco is a great example, right? It was our first trip as a couple, or as a married couple. Yeah. I think it was our first anniversary.
First anniversary.
But we got a city pass in San Francisco. We got there early in the morning, reasonably early in the morning. We couldn't check into the hotel.
So fucking early.
But we left our bags at the hotel, and then we had like 4 hours to kill.
Oh my gosh, maybe more than that. And we'd gone to a show the night before, of course, so we'd stayed up super late. We went and saw Modest Mouse.
Oh yeah. And Monofog?
And Monofog, I think.
Yeah. One Fog?
One Fog. Shout out. So we were tired.
Yeah.
When we got to San Francisco.
2 museums at least.
We did.
And we just made a path of it. We could like look at the map. We could be like, okay, we can hit this one. And we could just walk into it for an hour.
Yep.
Check out the cool stuff, the temporary exhibits, stay longer if we wanted to, or move on if we weren't loving it. Otherwise, like we were in Toronto a bunch of years ago, and we didn't have a city pass, which was fine, and it wasn't necessarily a good one there. But we went to like their big art museum, and we only had like 2 hours before they closed, but we had to pay like $14 a person to get in.
Right.
So
we were there on free museum weekend though, so we got into the Pottery Museum for free, which was great.
Yeah. One of my favorite
that
museums.
Was
Gardner. Gardner. Anyway,
I thought the Gardner was Anyway, ignore me. Nope.
So maximize what you're doing. If you're gonna check out a city pass, maybe depending on where you're going. If it has public transit,
I think it's worth getting because it's. And if it's got stuff that you're interested in, but if it has a bunch of stuff that you're like, I don't know if I'm interested in that. Like, listen, I didn't know if I was interested in these things either, but then I went and they were super cool because
if you're
I
not
could
a museum
get in
person,
for free.
if you're not a museum person, they're probably not a good idea.
Although some of the times they have things that are not museums that are the things I'm not interested in, like amusement parks and like, World of Coke, Atlanta, and like, things that I'm zoos, right? Like all of these kinds of things.
Right.
So, I mean, it's always worth looking at, but I always find them much more worth the expense if I'm also going to get the public transit access.
Right. So what we generally do, though, is, and I think we're just going to have to blaze on through, we're not even taking a break today.
Nope.
So when we're planning our trip, right, we're booking our airfare, we're figuring out kind of when we're getting there based on what the good fares are. We look at where we're staying based on things we want to do that we can walk to. So I always want to go to the art museum.
Right.
And Rachel does too. But we always look for something that we can like walk to or take public transit to the art museum. And then that gives us an idea of where we might be. We start looking at kind of what some cool neighborhoods are. And maybe that'll trump where we stay, but we want it to be something that we can get to and from the airport reasonably easily.
Yeah. And I mean, this is like sort of grown and modified over the years, right? Like I know we could have gotten to our place in Prague on public transit from the airport, but I'm
Right.
so glad that the
They
Airbnb
offered.
people offered like transit for an extra cost. I'm so glad we did, because I was very jet lagged when we arrived there.
Also pre-ride share.
Super confused. And I wouldn't have been able to find our place in its tiny little windy streets. It would have been a nightmare. Once I found it though, and once I like had a handle on how the city worked, and we almost never took public transit in Prague, except when we went out to Tiersen, which is a Holocaust memorial.
Yeah, we took the bus.
Prague, and I don't know if it's still this way, but Prague was interesting. You didn't have to show your ticket, but if you were on the platform or on the train and someone asked you for your ticket and you didn't have one, you got a very big fine.
Is that how Boston is too, now that I think about it? Or it used to be like that?
Denver, I think
Denver
it
is definitely like that. Yeah, so you're obligated, legally obligated to buy a pass. You want to support the system because it's a few bucks ultimately. But yeah, I mean, just kind of do a little bit of research. Right?
And we
kind
did
of
see
figure it
someone
out.
getting ticketed.
Right, that's true. A couple of young kids. But the other thing too is consider the costs, right? If it's maybe going to cost you a $50 Lyft or Uber or cab to your hotel, you're probably going to be paying more than $50 a day for your car.
That's true.
Or if you're in a big city, you're going to be
Parking
paying
that
like
car.
20 plus parking at your hotel, right? So it's worth laying down a little bit of cash to go. Like Rachel said about being jet lagged, balance that with how you think you're going to be. If it's a long flight, make your trip as easy as possible.
Yeah.
When we went to Tokyo, the first time I went to Tokyo, I was going through work. I still wanted to make it as inexpensive as possible. I took a really long bus, but it was like one of the cheapest options, and it took so long to get there. This time, I was feeling a little more confident, so we took a train that we had to transfer on, didn't we? No, we didn't.
No, we
just
didn't have
found
to transfer.
one. It took a little bit longer, and it was a little bit more expensive.
And we chose a place
That was on
purposefully
the line.
that was on the
That
line.
we could walk to. Yeah.
Yep.
But then once we were in Tokyo, oh my God, there was no need for a car. You do not want to drive there anyway.
There's so many cities I don't think you want to drive in. I mean, that's for some reason people do want to still get cars in. My parents infamously got a car in Rome. I don't want to drive in Rome, even though the public transit there was not my favorite experience on public transit.
So what's your favorite experience? We're running a little bit low on time. What's your favorite experience taking... So I guess before I even say that, right, let me jump in. And so when we're talking about public transit, we are talking about they might be private companies, it might be private trains, but it's things where you're moving with other people around
large
you, right?
groups of other
yeah,
people.
It's not a private car. And, we didn't talk about this. We don't really have time today. Listen to our Japan series that we did last year. We talk about this. Like, part of the way you get out of town, right, is you could just rent a car for a day or two while you're there, which we haven't done, or you get a smaller tour that you take part in. Maybe it's a little bit more expensive, but you might get an amazing experience like we did in Hokkaido.
Yeah, and you can listen to our Hokkaido episode about that. One of the ones when you asked me about like sort of favorite things that comes to mind is solo traveling. When I went to Columbus, Ohio, a couple years ago, there was a free airport shuttle. So you landed and the airport shuttle took me downtown, and then I walked, like half a mile to my Airbnb. Columbus is...
Wow.
Sorry.
Fireworks.
New Year's. Columbus is great for walking because it's real flat. But I got to my Airbnb, and my host was so excited that I had taken this free shuttle because he had just worked really hard with the city council to make sure that it happened. And so he was just like incredibly thrilled that like people were using it. And I was like, oh my God, it was great. Like I got to the city center for free. Like who wouldn't use that? And there's also in Columbus, there's a free bus that takes you all around like the downtown and the college and the German Village areas. I don't think it was there maybe the last time.
No, there was just a stretch that ran between like...
Yeah, but now it covers the whole thing. So a shout out to Columbus, Ohio for making it super easy to get around for free.
Also, Denver has done a pretty good job over the last few years.
Oh my gosh, so much better.
a lot of transit in the States, a lot of mass transit in the States is going to be great if you're on the lines, but oftentimes the lines are ultimately going to some of the places you want to go.
Yeah.
And, but Denver, you can now take it, I think, can't you, from DIA to Union Station, and then you could jump on our favorite train.
The Amtrak that takes you over the mountains, which I highly recommend that everybody take that train journey once. I also highly recommend that you do not plan your return train journey with the assumption that it will be on time and therefore
Right.
get you to the airport.
That stretch seems worse, and I don't know why.
I don't know. I mean, it's just the problem with Amtrak in the States for everyone, is that it shares tracks with freight. So if a freighter breaks down, like you're just screwed.
Right.
So because it doesn't have dedicated tracks, it's not that Amtrak breaks down that often. It's that
Yeah, probably right.
other trains do.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So some other experiences we've had that have been really great, right? Last year, again, we have a couple of podcast episodes on this. I spent a month in the UK, never rented a car. I was there for work, and it was going to be hundreds of dollars cheaper for me to get a monthly pass for the train over renting a car. And then I didn't have to worry about parking it. I didn't have to worry about driving on the wrong side of the road. And I got everywhere I needed. I walked a little bit more than I might, but I enjoy walking. And, you know, it worked out great.
Yeah. And I think, like, the unsung hero of public transit is always the bus. It is the least romantic type of public transit. And yet, like, we used it in the UK, and we talked about this in an episode in Wales to go out to Rossley Bay. We used it when we were in Japan. We took the bus out to the aquarium, to Kamo Aquarium.
I was particularly proud of us taking the bus in Japan.
Yeah.
And I'd say we've been across the spectrum of sort of mass transit things, right? So buses, local lines, high-speed rail across Spain. We got all over Spain with that.
Trams, funiculars. We really want to tell you about more things, but we have 5 minutes
my
left
gosh.
before we're having a party.
I know.
On
So
the internet.
Here's my last question to you, though. This is all well and good if you're like us and you like cities. If you don't like cities, there's a different thing, right? So if you've listened to 25 minutes of this already or 30 minutes of this already and are like, I don't like cities. When I travel, I want to go to the mountains. I want to go to the beach. You're probably going to rent a car.
Yeah.
Or maybe not, depending on where you're at, right?
It really does depend on where you're at. Because, I mean, we went to the mountains in several different small towns in Japan.
Yeah.
We took the most adorable, tiny train. It was a 2-car train, and it was so fucking cute. And I felt like I was in a Miyazaki movie.
Yeah.
To, like, this little town that I think is a ski town in the winter, right? So it depends on where you are. But yeah, I mean, some places...
We took a cat bus when we were in Japan. No, we didn't.
I wish.
Yeah.
But some places, and there are places that, like, I would like to go that we have not gone yet.
That's where I was going.
Because...
What are the places we haven't been able to go?
Well, I mean, I would like to go into the Alps in Germany, and I don't know... I haven't explored it. Like, there might be good options for this.
We took a train through the Alps.
We did take the...
But you'd have to go to very specific places.
Right. I think that would be...
You want to go into Bavaria.
Yeah, and
outside Munich.
And like I said, like, I don't know, it might be totally fine. I just haven't I haven't explored, like, the possibilities of it.
I do want to give Munich a shout out for probably Munich and Tokyo for being
so efficient.
From places we've gone, just up head and shoulders above other places we've been.
I will say Barcelona also very good in terms of like clarity of when things are coming, the like speed of when things arrive, accuracy. Like Barcelona is really great for its public transit.
And one of the things we didn't talk about, again, we're running out of time, and we talked about Bavaria. I think there's parts of Japan when we go back that don't get as much train service, especially in the south. That would be fun to go to, like Kyushu. But one of the things we didn't talk about is what I also like about being the primary driver when we go places, when we take the train, is I find the train to be my decompression time. So if we're taking it back to the hotel at the end of the day, or we're moving on to the next town or city that we're going to, that's when I can like catch up on emails and like post Instagram and just
gonna relax,
chill out,
check out.
Yeah, I'm not having to work during that time. So, you know, when we did our 22 days in Japan, we traveled over 1,400 miles, but we never did more than a few hours a day on the train too. So it was,
I think we
still had
maxed
full
out
days.
maybe at 5.
Yeah.
And that was a long trip. I mean, that was like Hakodate to Tokyo. So
and you have to plan. That's one of the pieces. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think that's the sort of takeaway, that potentially traveling with public transit takes more planning. But I think the rewards like way outweigh it, because you also get to experience things like a local person.
A little more like, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
Or in the example, and maybe we've mentioned this before, but with the Amtrak between Denver and Grand Junction, you aren't riding the same route as I-70. You're like taking different things. You see different scenes.
Yeah, you see places. I mean, there's a few places that train takes that there aren't roads. Like you can, the way that you would be able to see that scenery is either from the train or if you're on the river. But there's not another way to see it.
Right. So you can see different things. You can experience different things. We never really chat anybody up on public transit. We're like in our own little bubble.
We really just like each other. We don't like anybody else.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're talking to everybody else on the internet. We're getting a high five.
We are going to high five, and we're also going to wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
I don't think we touched on a lot of the things that
we intended to,
because we have so many good experiences, but I hope this gives you like just a general overview of.
Right. Well, we also literally have 20 years of traveling together.
Right.
Where we've only rented cars a couple times.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm just like the world's biggest not renting a car cheerleader.
Yeah. Although, what are we going to do in 2021?
We're going to go on a road trip.
So, yep. Maybe if you're in our loop, we'll stop by and see you. We got a few friends we're going to see. Social distanced or less, depending on how we are with this pandemic by then.
Right.
But
by the summer.
Yep.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for listening for 2 years.
2 years. Crazy.
We're coming back to you in year 3 with hopefully some more travel. But until then, hopefully some guest interviews with people who have had fun traveling experiences.
Right. We'll live vicariously through them.
Exactly.
All right. Well, have a happy new year. 2021 is going to be ideally a little bit better than 2020.
It's going to be awesome.
Yep.
I'm feeling optimistic because I have had 3 drinks.
Yep. Can we say keep on traveling?
Keep on traveling.
Thanks, Rick Steves.
Yeah.
You can check us out at anchor.fm/rainitin. That's spelled REINITIN, all one word, no spaces, and you can leave us a message there. You can also follow us at Instagram at rainitin_podcast or email us at rainitin@ssdpress.org, also spelled REINITIN at ssdpress.org. Thanks again to all of our friends and family for all the support and for putting up with us. Have a great day.